Hey, welcome back to Dollar Dave. I'm Dollar Dave, and today we are going to settle once and for all the single most exhausting argument in personal finance. You've seen it, you've probably been in it. On one side, you have the real estate and business crowd. The guys posting on social media from their Airbnb dashboards at 11 p.m. talking about how they're building passive income streams and how if you still have a 9 to 5, you're already losing. They want to retire at 27. They want to be on a boat. They think index funds are for boring people who lack ambition. On the other side, you have the index fund crowd, the people who read a John Bogle book one time and never recovered. They want to max their 401k, put everything in the S&P 500, and wait. They think entrepreneurs are just one bad tenant away from bankruptcy. They believe in the math. They believe in patience. They think the business guys are going to crash and burn. Both sides think the other side is completely wrong. Both sides are partially right, and both sides are missing the actual picture. Here is the truth that nobody wants to say. If you want to retire at 30, you cannot just pick one of these camps. Picking one camp will either get you there broke or get you rich but still chained to your desk at 45. Neither of those is the goal. So, today, I'm going to give you the framework that actually works. I call it the generator and the battery. And once I explain it, the whole debate is going to make a lot more sense. You'll be able to look at both sides and understand exactly where they went right, where they went wrong, and what they should have done differently. Think of your entire financial life as a power system. You need to generate electricity, and you need to store it. The argument between the two camps is basically an argument about which machine is better, the generator or the battery. And the answer is that you need both, but you need them in the right order and you need to use them correctly. Let's walk through it. We'll start at the beginning, with the path most people take by default.
Most people, when they get their first real job, are given a piece of advice that sounds completely reasonable. It goes like this. Contribute to your 401k. Put in at least enough to get the employer match. Aim for 10 to 15% of your income. Do that for 30 or 40 years, and you'll be fine. And here's the thing. That advice is not wrong. It is genuinely solid, responsible advice. It will absolutely result in a comfortable retirement. I want to be clear about that. But let me show you exactly what that path looks like using our framework. Imagine you're sitting on a bicycle. The bicycle is hooked up to a small dynamo, one of those little generators that friction powers a bike headlight. Every time you pedal, the dynamo spins and it generates a small amount of electricity. That electricity flows directly into a battery. This is the 9 to 5 plus index fund path. Your labor is the pedaling. Your paycheck is the electricity. The 10% you save every month is the trickle flowing into the battery. And the index fund, the S&P 500, is the battery storing it. Now, here is the beautiful thing about this bicycle. It will not explode. The pedals have never once spontaneously detonated. There are no employees to manage. There are no tenants calling you at midnight because the sink is dripping. You just pedal. You show up, you do your job, you get your paycheck, you put 10% away, and the system works exactly as designed. Let's run the actual math on this so we understand exactly what we're dealing with. Say you are 22, fresh out of school, and you are earning $55,000 a year. You save 15%, so that's about $8,250 a year, roughly $688 a month going into an S&P 500 index fund. Historically, the S&P 500 has returned around 8 to 10% annually over long periods of time. Let's use 8% to be conservative. At 8% returns, investing $688 a month starting at 22, do you know how long it takes to reach $1 million? About 30 years. You are 52. Do you know how long it takes to reach the number most people need to actually retire comfortably, which financial planners usually put somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million? You're looking at 35 to 38 years. You retire somewhere around 57 to 60. That is a totally reasonable outcome. Retire at 58 or 59, financially stable, zero debt. Most Americans don't get there. This is genuinely a good plan. But you are not here because you want to retire at 30. You're here because you want to retire at 30. And the bicycle does not get you there by 30. It is physically incapable of pedaling fast enough. A dynamo hooked to a bicycle generates maybe enough power to run a headlight. You need industrial-scale power generation to fill a retirement battery in 8 years instead of 38. You need something fundamentally different. So let's talk about the entrepreneur's path, the business owner, the real estate investor, the person who decided that the bicycle was too slow and went looking for a faster machine. In our framework, this person traded the bicycle for a diesel-powered industrial generator, one of those massive machines you see outside a construction site, a generator that can power an entire city block. It does not trickle electricity, it floods it. What does this look like in the real world? It looks like someone who starts a business in their early 20s. Maybe it is a service business, landscaping, digital marketing, HVAC, bookkeeping. Maybe it is an Airbnb operation where they lease apartments, furnish them, and manage short-term rentals. Maybe it is e-commerce. Maybe it is real estate rentals with leverage, using a bank's money to buy a $300,000 property with $60,000 down and then charging $2,500 a month in rent while paying $1,800 in mortgage. The structure does not matter as much as the underlying math. The underlying math is this. Instead of earning $55,000 a year as an employee and saving 15% of it, you are now generating, say, $15,000 or $20,000 a month in cash flow from the business or the real estate portfolio. Before you even start investing a single dollar, you have already generated 4 to 5 times more raw power than the bicycle was producing. The generator is running. But here is the part the business influencers always forget to tell you. That generator does not run itself. It requires fuel, constantly. The fuel, in this case, is your time, your stress, your decision-making, your problem-solving, and your willingness to absorb risk. You are managing people. You are handling taxes. You are dealing with the month where a pipe bursts in Unit 3 and a guest leaves a 3-star review because the Wi-Fi was slow. You also used leverage to build this thing. Leverage means borrowed money, and borrowed money is the reason the generator produces so much power so quickly, but it is also the reason it can catch fire. The bicycle cannot catch fire. You cannot go bankrupt pedaling a bicycle too hard. You absolutely can over-leverage a real estate portfolio and watch the whole thing collapse. So the generator is powerful, the generator is fast, and the generator carries real risk. Got it. We're keeping that trade-off in mind as we move forward, because it's critical to everything that comes next.
Okay, so let's say you did it. You started the business. You put in the crazy hours in your early 20s. You learned how to manage people, how to market, how to handle cash flow. The generator is running. You are pulling in $18,000 a month in net cash flow by the time you are 26 years old. You did it. Now here is where the story should go. The story should go, you take that cash flow, you live modestly, you pour it into index funds for a few years, and then you retire at 30 with a massive investment portfolio generating passive income forever. That is the correct story. Here is the story that actually happens to about 90% of the entrepreneurs who get to this point. They fall in love with the generator. Think about what $18,000 a month feels like after years of grinding, after years of eating cheap, driving an old car, working weekends. The money starts coming in, and the brain does something very predictable. It says, you built a machine that prints money. The logical move is to build a bigger machine that prints more money. And so instead of routing that cash flow into an investment portfolio, they route it back into the business, a second location, another rental property, an employee to manage the employees, a bigger office, a fancier website. The net cash flow goes from $18,000 a month to $35,000 a month. And then the lifestyle expands to match. Now they have a lease on a $90,000 car. Now they have a rent payment on a luxury apartment. Now they have a team of 12 people whose paychecks depend on the generator running at full capacity every single month. They are wealthy. There is no question about that. On paper, this person is doing extremely well. But here is the question I want you to sit with.
Are they free? They cannot take a month off. If they take a month off, the generator slows down and the revenue dips, and suddenly payroll is tight, and the car lease payment is due, and the high-end apartment rent is due. The expensive lifestyle is not funded by a self-sustaining asset. It is funded entirely by the generator running at full blast every single day forever. That is the trap. You got rich, you never retired. You replaced a 9-to-5 job that paid $55,000 a year with a self-imposed 24/7 job that pays $35,000 a month. The noise is louder, the stakes are higher, and you still can't turn it off. This is not a fictional person I'm describing. This is the majority of successful entrepreneurs in their 30s and 40s. They escaped the corporate world, they built something impressive, and then they accidentally imprisoned themselves inside it. The generator became the cage.
So let's talk about the battery. And I want to give the index fund crowd their moment here, because they actually got the most important thing right. They just got the speed wrong. Imagine a lithium-ion battery, the kind that powers an electric car. It is completely silent. It does not vibrate. It does not require oil changes or maintenance schedules. It does not have a staff. You do not need to answer emails on its behalf at 11 p.m. on a Sunday. You charge it, and it stores the energy perfectly. And here is the almost magical part. While it is sitting there, it is slowly charging itself. Not fast, but continuously and automatically, every single day, forever. That self-charging behavior is compound interest. When your S&P 500 index fund grows at 8 to 10% a year, that growth itself generates more growth next year. You put $100,000 in the battery. At 8%, next year it's $108,000. You did nothing. The year after that, the 8% applies to $108,000, so you get $116,640, not $116,000. The $8,000 you earned last year is now also earning 8%. Run that forward. You put $500,000 into the battery and leave it alone for 10 years. At 8% compound growth, it becomes $1,079,000. You more than doubled your money without doing a single thing. That is what compound interest looks like at scale. Now, 0 of those gains required your time. 0 of them required your stress. There were no tenants, no employees, no cash flow management, no lease agreements, no quarterly tax filings. The battery just sat there and it grew. That silence, that 0 maintenance, 0 hours per week silence is the entire point. That silence is what retirement actually feels like. But here is the problem with the index fund crowd, and it's the same problem we identified with the bicycle back in Act 2. If you are trying to fill this massive battery with a bicycle, it's going to take 30 to 40 years. The battery is not the problem. The battery is wonderful. The battery is exactly where you want your money to end up. The problem is the charging speed. A $688 per month contribution, even at 8% annual returns, is not going to fill a retirement battery in 8 years. To retire at 30, you need to get somewhere in the range of $1 to $2 million into that battery by the time you are 30 years old. To do that, starting at age 22, you need to be pumping somewhere between $6,000 and $12,000 a month into the S&P 500, every single month for 8 years. A $55,000 salary does not support that contribution rate, not even close. You need the industrial generator to do the charging. All right. Here is the actual strategy. This is the thing that actually works. It requires you to hold 2 contradictory ideas in your head at the same time, which is why most people never arrive at it. Step 1. You build the generator. In your early 20s, roughly ages 22 to 24, your entire job is to find the business model or real estate strategy that fits your skills, your market, and your risk tolerance, and you build it. You work the crazy hours, you learn, you fail at small things and iterate. You accept the noise and the stress as the price of speed. The goal of this phase is not to make a lot of money. The goal is to build a machine that produces consistent, substantial cash flow. There is a difference.
A lot of young entrepreneurs celebrate revenue. Revenue is not the goal. Cash flow after expenses, after taxes, after debt service. That number, the actual net, is what you are building toward. You are building toward a generator that reliably produces $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month in genuine net cash flow. Step 2. You keep your lifestyle deliberately cheap. This is the step where most people fall into the trap I described in Act 4. You cannot let your expenses scale with your income. You are making $18,000 a month and you are living on $3,000. You are driving the same car you drove in college. You are not leasing a luxury apartment. You are not posting about your lifestyle on social media. This is not a sacrifice, it is the strategy. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is the fuel that fills the battery. You protect that gap with your life. Let's run the numbers so this is concrete. You are 24 years old. Your business generates $18,000 per month in net cash flow. You live on $3,000 a month. That leaves $15,000 per month going directly into an S&P 500 index fund. That is $180,000 per year being invested. At 8% annual returns, here is what happens over 6 years. Year 1, $180,000 invested. Account value roughly $194,400 at year end. Year 2, another $180,000 added, plus the existing balance growing. You are approaching $400,000. By year 3, you are past $600,000. By year 4, you are north of $850,000. By year 5, you are approaching $1.1 million. By year 6, you are somewhere around $1.4 to $1.5 million. You are 30 years old. Step 3. This is the cable, the most important physical connection in the entire system. You run a direct cable from the generator to the battery. Every single dollar of excess cash flow goes into the index fund. There are no detours. There is no, I'll invest it next month. There is no, let me just see if I can scale the business a little more first. Every drop of excess production goes straight into storage. The cable is automatic, it is consistent, and it does not have an off switch. The reason you tolerate the noise of the generator, the stress, the employees, the tenants, the risk, the long hours, is specifically because the payoff has a defined endpoint. You are not building the generator so you can run it forever. You are running it hard for 8 years because 8 years of $180,000 annual investments at 8% returns fills the battery to a number large enough to fund the rest of your life without any income at all. That defined endpoint is the psychological thing that separates this strategy from the entrepreneur's trap. The business owner who fell in love with the generator has no endpoint. He is going to run the generator until something breaks: health, marriage, market, or morale. You have an endpoint. You know exactly what the battery needs to reach. You watch that number grow toward it, month by month, contribution by contribution. And the moment it gets there, you execute Step 4.
Step 4. This is the one most successful entrepreneurs are too scared to take. Even the ones who understand everything I have just described. Even the ones who intellectually know that the battery is full and the generator is no longer necessary. They still can't do it. You walk over to the generator and you turn it off. In practical terms, this means you sell the business, you cash out the real estate portfolio, you liquidate the thing that required your constant energy and attention, and you move the proceeds into the battery. And then you stop. You walk away from the noise, permanently. The reason entrepreneurs cannot bring themselves to do this is rooted in identity. The business is not just a machine to them anymore. It is who they are. It is what they talk about at dinner. It is the thing that earns them respect. Shutting it down feels like losing something, even when the math says it is the most rational move they could possibly make. Let me show you exactly why the math makes it rational. You have $1.4 million in the battery, an S&P 500 index fund. The historical average annual return of the S&P 500 over long time horizons is somewhere between 8 and 10%. Let's use 8% to be conservative. On $1.4 million, 8% growth is $112,000 per year. That is the battery charging itself. Now, here is the 4% rule.
and it is the key that unlocks everything. The 4% rule comes from financial research called the Trinity Study. The core finding is this: if you withdraw only 4% of your portfolio per year and the portfolio is invested in a diversified index fund, the portfolio will not run out of money over a 30-year retirement period. And in most historical scenarios, it actually grows. 4% of $1.4 million is $56,000 per year. That is $4,666 a month, every month, forever. And because the portfolio is growing at 8% annually while you were only drawing 4%, the remaining 4% is staying in the battery, continuing to compound. In most years, your portfolio will be worth more at the end of the year than at the beginning, even after you took $56,000 out of it. Now, if you pushed the battery to $2 million before pulling the plug, which is achievable if you ran the generator for 8 full years, the 4% withdrawal is $80,000 per year. That is $6,666 a month. That is more than most American households earn from their jobs, and you are earning it by doing absolutely nothing. You are 30 years old. You have 0 employees. You have 0 tenants. You have 0 meetings on your calendar. You have 0 obligations tied to the production of income. The battery is full. The generator is off. The noise is gone. What does your life look like? It looks like whatever you want it to look like. You can travel. You can start a passion project that makes no money. You can spend 3 years learning to paint. You can raise kids without the constant background stress of a business that needs your attention. You can do genuinely nothing for a year and see what that feels like. The math supports all of it. And here's the thing I want you to understand about that freedom. It is not just about money. Money is the mechanism, not the point. The point is that for the rest of your life, from 30 onward, which statistically could be 50 or 60 more years, your time is yours. Every hour of every day belongs to you. Nobody can buy it. Nobody can demand it. You own it completely. That is what the bicycle-only crowd is building toward at 58. That is what the generator-only crowd accidentally traded away in their 30s when they couldn't turn the machine off. And that is what the hybrid system delivers at 30, if you follow the steps correctly and don't flinch at the end. To recap the system in plain terms, Step 1, build the generator in your early 20s. Accept the noise and risk as the cost of speed. Step 2, keep the lifestyle cheap. Protect the gap between income and expenses. Step 3, run the cable. Every dollar of excess cash flow goes directly into the S&P 500 index fund without hesitation. Step 4, once the battery hits the number, pull the plug. Sell the machine, walk away from the noise. Let the battery fund your life using the 4% rule forever. That's the full system. It's not complicated. It does not require a finance degree. It requires discipline at Step 2, consistency at Step 3, and courage at Step 4. The math has always been available to anyone willing to sit down and look at it honestly. The bicycle path gets you to retirement at 58. The generator-only path gets you to wealth without freedom. The hybrid path, generator plus battery, run in sequence with the discipline to actually pull the plug, gets you to retirement at 30. I'm Dollar Dave. Do the math and go do whatever you want.